Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'm going to be telling you about everything to do with the commitment aware outreach strategy. Now, if you've been following me anywhere on social media, whether it's Twitter or YouTube, you've heard me talk about this several times, and I've talked about it briefly in some of my videos. I've explained it briefly in some of my tweets, but I've never actually made a video really explaining what exactly it is. Now, because of the fact that we use this strategy for pretty much all of our clients in the agency and for ourselves to book pretty much all of our sales calls, I think it's pretty appropriate for me to make an exact video where we explain everything on how it works, why it works, and sort of all of the information around it. But with that being said, let's just get right into it. Now, this is the exact strategy we're using to get results just like this. As you can see, 10% interested response rates on a cold email campaign to cold prospects who have never heard of our company, right? We have perfect bounce rate with using offer like this with 0.5% bounce rate. That means 99.5% deliverability, 10% positive response rate right here, 20% positive response rate. You can see this is our Calendly when we were booking a ton of meetings for ourselves, several meetings every single day, only coming from cold email. This is only the cold email calendar, right? You could see our Go High Level calendar when we used to have, or when we used to use Go High Level as a CRM, we would have meetings back to back to back to back every single day. You can see right here, 67 opportunities in just the span of a month. And you can even see right here, this is a campaign we just recently launched where we have a 50% response rate. It's a brand new campaign, of course, so that will even out. But my point is that this strategy works again and again and again. So I want to share it with you guys. Okay, now let's just get right into it. So first thing we have to talk about is what even is commitment aware outreach. Now, the first step in understanding commitment aware outreach is understanding the concept of commitment levels and awareness levels. Now, there are 5 different types of awareness levels. That includes the unaware. These are people who don't even know they have a problem, right? Then there's problem aware. These are people who know they have a problem, but they just don't know how to fix it. There's solution aware. These are people who know what the solution is, but they haven't taken action. Then there's product aware, people who already know exactly what you provide, but they just need a good offer in order to actually make a decision. Then there's most aware, and these are the people who know everything. They know about their problem, they know about the different solutions, they know about your specific product, but they just need to use logic in order to actually go and make a decision, right? These are the best types of people. These are the best people you want to be working with more than anybody, right? Now, the more aware someone is, the easier it's going to be to sell to them. Now, that's obvious, right? It's harder to sell something to someone, right, when that product or that service you're selling is solving a problem that they don't even know they have, right? Where on the contrary, if you're trying to sell a service or a product that's going to fix the biggest problem in someone's life, right, they're obviously going to be a lot easier to get over that fence and say yes, if that makes sense, right? Now, awareness levels measure how aware someone is about a particular problem. But commitment levels measure how much time, money, and energy a person is willing to exert in order to solve a particular problem. Now, if you think about it, these two correlate with each other like perfectly, because the more aware you are about something, the more it bothers you, and the more it bothers you, the more you're willing to really spend resources, whether it's time, money, or energy, or all three, in order to solve that problem, right? Now, why does this all matter, and why am I explaining all of this? It's because you need to understand these concepts in order to make relevant offers to the marketplace, because there's different types of leads, right? Now, let me explain all of this right now. Now, whenever you make an offer to an unaware prospect, you need to give them a low commitment offer. And I'm going to give examples, real life examples for all of this later in the video, so just stay tuned. Whenever you make an offer to a super aware prospect, on the other hand, you can give them a high commitment offer. Now, you don't have to, but you can. That is something that you could reasonably do, and there's a high percentage of a chance that they'll actually say yes to it, okay? Now, the core concept behind commitment aware outreach is only ask of a person what is appropriate to ask them, right? Now, kind of, again, I'll have a real life example like in the agency world like later in the video, so just stay tuned and you guys will kind of see what I mean. Right? Meaning, if you are contacting a cold prospect, do not ask to book a meeting right away, right? It might work, But that doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, right? That's kind of how everything is in outreach. It's not binary. It's not either it works or it doesn't work, right? Some things will work better than others, okay? And on the other hand, if they are a hot prospect, then of course you could consider asking them to book a meeting right away. But again, it might not even be the best option because it varies on a lot of factors. Now let's get into the real life example. Now, it's a pretty long example, so just stay with me. Now, imagine, hypothetically speaking, your name is Bob, and you own an e-commerce company selling Shopify or selling on Shopify called Bob Shoes. Now, things are going great, but could always be going better. You're always looking to expand, but so far business is going great, you're happy. Okay? Now, imagine one day you receive a peculiar looking cold email in your inbox, and you decide to go and take a look. And it's from someone named John Smith, and they're emailing you from Smith Media. That's the company name. Now, you don't know John Smith, and you don't know Smith Media. This is a complete cold email. Now, you read the email, and right away, John tells you how you need to start selling on TikTok Shop, right? Now, it's this new hot opportunity, and, he's offering you to get on a 30-minute call so he could tell you all about it. Now, at the moment, you're already doing great on Shopify, right? Right away, what's going to happen is skepticism is going to fill your mind. You don't know John. You don't know Smith Media. You don't know anything about TikTok Shop. And by default, you're not going to want to know because you are skeptical right away, okay? Now, right, guess what's going to happen in a realistic situation? You're a busy guy, and you don't have 30 minutes to waste. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to tell John, or you're not going to tell John anything, matter of fact. You're just going to not respond. And even though TikTok Shop might actually be something worth considering, because of the way that John came off and because of the way he outreached to you without actually giving, I guess, any context beforehand, you're not going to want to explore that because you already have a lot of stuff on your plate, right? And you don't want to waste 30 minutes. Your schedule's already tight. So in this particular situation, John would have ultimately lost Bob as a lead, right? Now, what was the problem here? John approached a low awareness prospect, which is Bob. Bob's not even aware that he needs to be on TikTok Shop, with a relatively high commitment offer. And I say relatively because obviously getting on a call isn't that much work, but in comparison to doing nothing, it obviously is more work, okay? And because of the fact that he is a low awareness prospect and he's being given a relatively high commitment offer, he's not going to care and he's not going to say yes. That prospect doesn't feel satisfied with the offer, okay? Now imagine, hypothetically speaking, John approached you and said something like this instead. Hey Bob, my brother was in the market for some new cleats and he asked me what I thought about one of your shoes. I mean, they look great, but I'm actually in the e-com marketing game myself, so I decided to take a look at your presence on TikTok. I noticed you guys didn't have a profile or a shop set up yet, and TikTok Shop's like the big new thing right now, and since the algorithms are pushing tons of traffic for people selling stuff on Shopify, on the shop. I ended up recording a video for you going over how Bob Shoes could get an extra 20% increase in revenue in just 8 weeks by taking advantage of the TikTok Shop right now. Mind if I send it over? Now, this is actually a real email that we're running for a real client, and this isn't like exactly how our email is portrayed because obviously we don't want to give away the exact way we're doing things, but I guess it looks like how our email looks, right? It's not the exact email, but it's similar. And this email right now is ripping, right? It's ripping. The exact offer is different because obviously I can't share that, but the concept here is first of all, we're segmenting, and I have an entirely different video on that. So if you guys are interested, you can go watch that. But right now, the most important part here is John is not approaching Bob with the intention of trying to sell Bob, or that's at least not how it seems. He's just approaching Bob and increasing his awareness level to the fact that this TikTok Shop exists, right? Now, off the bat, and then we're going to continue as if you're Bob, you're 100% going to read this email because the first sentence, you are under the impression that this is a potential customer. 100% you're reading this email. Then you're going to see John's offering to help you for completely free without asking for anything in return. You're going to think to yourself, well, A 20% increase in just 8 weeks is a lot, right? That'll make you a lot of money. And if that actually happened, that would take your business to the next level, right? Especially for some of these bigger e-com brands. A 20% increase is a lot of money. Now, all John is offering is a video. What is the worst thing that can happen if you say yes? Or it says no, but it meant to say yes, right? So you decide to reply, hey, John, sure thing, sounds interesting, send it over. And let's really dissect what's happening here. A random person sends you a message about potentially going on a new platform to sell something. Now, you think it's interesting, but you're not interested enough to the point where you want to get on a call and start discussing this and start finalizing things. But you are interested enough where you'll consume an asset, and especially because it's not just any asset. It's an asset that supposedly Bob recorded just for you, right? Or I'm sorry, John recorded just for you. So you're going to be intrinsically interested and you're going to ask for that asset. Now, what is the difference between the two approaches? In the first situation, John approaches Bob with a relatively high commitment offer when Bob is still a low awareness prospect. Now, in the second situation, John approaches Bob with a low commitment offer and Bob accepts because he has nothing to lose, right? Like, it's just a video. You're not committing to anything. There's no reason why you wouldn't say yes. And that's the concept of creating outreach that is commitment aware. Okay, now let's continue. Okay, now you got a prospect interested, but what is next? Now that John got Bob interested, the next step is to actually deliver the promised asset. Now the secret here is to actually make the asset extremely good, right? And it's kind of going back to, I mean, for those of you guys who know Alex Hormozy, he talks about this all the time, where he says to make your free shit better than their paid shit. And what he's talking about is if your free value is going to be better than the value of your competitors and, you know, the value they charge for, you're inherently going to win, right? If this is something that, you know, you're giving away for free, it's almost like a free coaching call in a sense, right? It's a free consultation or something like that. You can position it any way you want, and you're giving it away for free, and other consultants are, you know, charging for that. You're going to see massive success, especially if you start getting into like blue market oceans, right? Or blue market offers where, you know, you have an offer like TikTok Shop for Shopify store owners, which right now is a crazy offer, right? At the time of recording the video, right? You're going to see a lot of success, especially if there's no commitment involved. Okay. Now, do whatever you need to do to make this the best possible asset you can make it. Whether you have to spend a ton of time on creating a really, really, really good template and then just keep reusing that template and just inputting like the custom information in, right? Or you want to go and you want to just every single time make a custom presentation, that's up to you. But this is going to be the method of you going and getting the absolute best results because of the fact that it is so much effort, right? Now, just for the sake of the example, we're just going to say that John, you know, makes a video as the asset, right? It could be a document. It could be anything you want it to be, but we're just going to call it, you know, we're going to call it a video. Now, John wants to make a real personalized loom of him going over some sort of document explaining in detail how Bob can benefit from John's offer. Now, whether John tries to make a point, every time John tries to make a point, he's going to reference past case studies. He's going to mention past testimonials, and he's going to prove everything he's saying with real data. Now, why is this? First of all, you're establishing social proof without making it look like it's a sales pitch. Second of all, you're proving that what you're saying isn't an opinion. It isn't something you think. It's actually real data, okay? And in turn, that's going to, one, establish social proof because you're showing case studies, but it's also going to establish that you are competent. You know what you're talking about. And if you know what you're talking about, they're going to trust you, okay? And trust is really all it comes down to, because if they trust you, they're going to want to work with you, okay? Now, let's say Bob finishes his video. What has happened? Bob finishes John's video, and let's discuss what's happened now. Bob now knows John's voice, John's face, and is able to depict a human, not a faceless individual. Now, this is something that's more psychological than you think, right? When someone cold emails you, you don't mentally associate that cold email with an actual person. You just see a faceless company. By consuming an asset that John actually went and made, Bob now sees John as a real person rather than the faceless company. Okay? Bob now knows John is an authority in the given space, and he knows what he's talking about, right? Obviously, if John is going to be able to send a personalized video saying exactly how he would do something, he's obviously an expert. He's an authority, right? Bob now feels like he somewhat owns John, right? Because John went out of his way to help Bob by making the video, and the law of reciprocity says that when you help someone, they're going to feel, I guess, in debt to you almost to help you back, okay? And that's the third thing. And the fourth thing, Bob now knows that he needs to be taking advantage of the TikTok shop, and this is an opportunity that he's been missing out on, okay? Now, in one single move, John has successfully raised Bob's awareness level and commitment level. He's gained Bob's trust and his goodwill, and he did something for Bob, which is establishing a sense of reciprocity, which is going to want to make Bob help John back, right? So, and one of those ways of helping might just be giving John some business, okay? Now, I really hope this is settling in why this is so useful. You're kind of taking every box with one single action. It's like killing three birds with one stone, okay? So now Bob all of a sudden wants your service. He now trusts Bob, and Bob now all of a sudden wants John's service, and he trusts John, and all of a sudden he feels like he owns John, right? So now who is he going to work with, right? All of a sudden, he needs John's service, he trusts John, and he feels like he owes John. So who is he going to work with? John. That's exactly who he's going to work with. And this is exactly the point that I'm trying to make to you guys, that if you provide a good asset to the right person, and it is a relevant asset and it's a helpful asset, you are immediately going to establish trust, and that person is going to want to continue working with you, right? And now it's appropriate to actually go and start asking for a call. But again, all of this is contingent on the idea that John actually knows what he's talking about. If you send over an asset that is just horrible, you're just not going to get any actual feedback. You're not going to get any trust, any competence, right? No one's going to believe you because your asset's actually bad. The only way this works is if your asset is actually good, okay? Now, the conclusion. Now, that about wraps up this video. It's not a long video, and for those of you who've watched the ones, you know that I usually get a lot more into it, because commitment-aware outreach is just not rocket science, right? You're just leveraging the power of reciprocity and trust in order to more effectively book sales calls for your service-based business, right? Now, if you can simply put the right offer in front of the right person at the right time, you are guaranteed to go and get results. Now, all of this logic isn't just applicable to cold email. Now, I know I used cold email in the example, and I talked about cold email for the majority of the video, but this works for anything, whether it's an ad, whether it's a cold DM, whether it's a cold email, whether you put this in a newspaper, it doesn't matter. You provide value first, and then you ask for something. You give, then ask, right? And that is how, and this isn't even just business. This applies to all aspects of life. If you ever want something from someone, give them something first of value, and only then should you feel like you're in the position to ask for something of that person, okay? But anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it was useful, like and subscribe, but everybody have a good day. Bye-bye.